Welcome into an all-new episode of Her Playbook, a podcast highlighting inspiring stories of women in sport and business. My name is Madelyn Burke, and I'm thrilled to be joined by Fox Sports NFL lead sideline reporter Erin Andrews. Erin, thank you so much for taking the time today.
Thanks for having me. I mean, I want to put you on the hot seat. Are you at the facility? What are you hearing? Who are you guys signing as quarterback? I got all the questions for you. Where's Brian Daboll? Let's get some answers.
Obviously, roaming around these hallways, the Giants facility, if the walls could talk, right? And we'll talk later more about all of that. But I want to talk about you and your story. I mean, football fans, sports fans in general, they see you on Sundays on the sideline. But it takes years to build a success like yours. I understand you grew up a tomboy, but your dad also was in the industry, an Emmy Award-winning investigative journalist. How much did his vocation inspire your career path choice?
Oh, a lot. I mean, my dad is one of the best storytellers I've ever been around. He just has a great way of explaining things. And so, you know, my mom was a school teacher during the day. So my dad had me during the day before he went to go do his job with the local news at night. And he would talk to me a lot about the Boston Celtics and the Boston Red Sox and the Green Bay Packers and just his favorite teams. And it was cool to like watch games with my dad. And I would walk away thinking that like Larry Bird and Kevin McHale were my best friends and Magic Johnson and Charles Barkley and things like that. So my dad had a lot to do with why I'm in the industry, why I love the stories behind the players, the coaches, the front offices, the teams, all of that.
Now, I mean, fans see you on the lead package on NFL Sundays, but you've covered a lot. You've covered everything from hockey, college football, NFL to Little League World Series and the Scripps National Spelling Bee. Yeah. So when you look at some of the earlier days of your career and some of the smaller sports perhaps that you covered, how much or how important were those years in building up to where you are right now in your career?
Yeah, well, I've never felt more like I've never felt as dumb as I did covering the Scripps National Spelling Bee. I mean, these were 10 and 13-year-olds. Like, I'd never even heard of these words and they were crushing it. So that was quite an experience. I had fun doing that. But yeah, I cut my teeth in the NHL, which is why it's really cool that I'm a part of this campaign with AstraZeneca and the NHL. But, you know, I worked for the local hockey team in Tampa, Florida, the Tampa Bay Lightning. They were not very good at the time. They had a brand new coach. My first year as I was traveling with the team right out of college. It taught me a lot. It taught me a lot about what I needed to do in the business to have success, how to study, how to carry myself around a team, around a struggling organization. You know, like when a team is not winning, the mood, the attitude isn't the best. They don't want to hear from the local, you know, sideline reporter and answer questions when they're down 3-0 after, you know, the first period. So it really did. It really paved the way for me. And it taught me a lot about, you know, kind of how I hold myself and carry myself now.
Well, and you talk about, too, the importance of storytelling, right? I mean, that a lot of that goes into the role of a sideline reporter. For viewers at home, they might look and say, oh, you know, the screen time is just a few minutes here and there per game. How hard could it be? But this is a hard job. How would you describe the amount of just preparation and work that goes into covering a game on the sidelines?
I've never studied as hard as I do now. And, you know, the biggest reason why is, well, first of all, I want to do a great job and I never want to be unprepared. You also never know what the outcome is going to be during a live game, right? It's the best reality show there is. You don't know what's going to happen. But also, as you very well know, there are so many news outlets right now covering practice, covering press conferences, covering locker room scrums. So there's news and information coming at a rapid pace during a football season.
And you never know when a player that you cover is going to be your teammate on the broadcast. It's got to be interesting with Tom Brady in the booth now. What has that experience been like for you?
It's been awesome. TB has been a friend of mine off the field for quite some time. He and my husband like to golf together and have a good time together, ski together. So yeah, but it's cool. It's, you know, I've had a chance to interview him before. I've had a chance to cover him on the sidelines and obviously be friends with him off the field. But my work family is truly my family. They're some of my best friends, and we have such a good time. We're very much a group that we love to just make fun of each other. We, you know, it's in a loving way. It's very much like big brother, big sisters. I'm the only sister on the crew, but and so it's cool to get to have fun with the goat, and it's cool to like make fun of him sometimes and him make fun of us, and like just kind of like have the fellowship or the camaraderie, and it was really, really fun. And I'm so proud of him and what he was able to do this year. And I feel like he left on such a high note with the great broadcast with the Super Bowl. We were also pumped with the way the NFC Championship went. And he cares so much. And of course he does, right? That's why he's so good at everything he does. And he was so open to anything that any of us suggested or like tips and things like that. So it was great. I love him a lot. And I'm so happy he's on our team.
And the relationships in this business are obviously so important, not just with your teammates on any given Sunday, but also throughout. I know that the relationships with other women in these roles are so imperative. You and Carissa Thompson are so close. You've even started a podcast, Calm Down. What's that journey been like, kind of taking your personal experiences and your personal anecdotes onto a podcast stage?
Yeah, it's been fun. I mean, listen, we only get 15 seconds really. I do. Krista gets a lot more time to speak in the studio. So, yeah, it's cool to just peel back the curtain and kind of show everybody what's going on behind the scenes and show the funny stories that, we don't really get to talk about. So, yeah, it kind of shows a different side of us.
And a different side of being a broadcaster for you. I mean, you have many sides of your professional career, including a fashion designer. You started Wear by Erin Andrews. I see some of the pieces behind you there. How did you know that it was the right time for you to pivot in that direction and create, in my opinion, what was, a much needed void in the women's sports apparel lines?
Yeah, thank you for that. I just kind of, because I'm a fan, I was a wife of a, 2-time Stanley Cup winner, and I wanted to obviously support him and look fashionable, be able to, wear a cool outfit that I wore to the game, out to the bar afterwards or to dinner with, some of my other wives and girlfriends on the team. I would go to these team shops and just notice there was so much selection for the men and not so much for the women, that it was just really something that struck a chord with me, and I was like, we gotta figure this out. We gotta make women, they make up 50% of the demographic of fans. And we gotta have them fashionable and looking great and, cheering on their fans or their team the best way they know how. So, yeah, that's really what started this whole thing.
How do you find the time to continue to stay involved in the designs as it continues to grow with new league rights and new apparel lines?
I have a great team. I have a team that stays on it because it is hard. It's hard to juggle it. And listen, I've learned a lot about staying in my own lane, and like, I'm good at this part of it. We have a group of creative designers that are, in that area. We have a group that knows what the leagues allow and what they don't allow and things like that.
Now, I understand there's a new limited edition product under the Wear umbrella that's coming out, and something that hits a bit close to home. Tell me about your upcoming public health campaign, Get Body Checked Against Cancer.
Yeah, it's a partnership with AstraZeneca, the NHL, and Hockey Fights Cancer. Get Body Checked Against Cancer is their campaign, and it's all about people need to go to the doctor. We are trying to encourage routine screenings, cancer screenings, cancer checkups, and it's more than just that. It's go and get checked, see how you're doing, see how your body's doing. I in 2016 just went for an annual checkup with my doctor, and not expecting anything, just it was my routine annual check. I was told I had cervical cancer, and that was definitely something that I wasn't expecting. I just thought it was something, hey, I got to go to the doctor. It's that time of year. And luckily, with the fact that we were able to catch it so early, we were able to treat it a couple of times, and I'm, obviously in remission. So when I went public with that whole story, I then was, a lot of people told me, I don't go to the doctor. I haven't been to the doctor in forever. My mom hasn't gone to the doctor. It's like, hey, you got to make the time. And look, I know it's a scary thing. And I know people have anxiety. I know it's hard to even make the time to go to the doctor, but you have to do it, because if you do have something, you want to be able to get on top of it. You want to be able to treat it.
And it was fortunate.
Oh, and one more thing. Sorry, with that whole thing, we came up with a limited edition T-shirt. It's under my clothing line, Wear by EA, and it's got screen, on it, which of course get screened, get checked out. And since we are doing this partnership with AstraZeneca and the NHL, you can find those on nhlshop.com or the NHL flagship store in New York City. Kind of by you guys.
Gotta check it out. Gotta take a look for those. And it's a great cause, especially, I mean, considering your personal story too. You were fortunate you caught it early. A couple surgeries later, you were able to be cancer-free, but of course it's a lifelong process monitoring that. As a woman too, cervical cancer can be a bit invasive and frightening, especially as you go on the journey of starting your family. I know you and your husband recently welcomed your first child via surrogate. What was that process like, especially having gone through the cancer struggles in such a public forum?
Yeah, I mean, it was really hard. Anybody that's gone through the whole infertility journey, it's a nightmare of a roller coaster ride. You wouldn't wish it on your worst enemy. It's not only, draining on your funds, but it's also draining on your mental state and also on your relationship and on your life. Nobody wants to have bad news all the time. We had a lot of years with bad news. And even when we first started the surrogacy journey, we ended up starting our process with loss before we were able to have our son. So it is very difficult. It's very cruel at some moments of the journey, but we have a fantastic ending with a very wild child who is full of life and energy. And when he's screaming at me, I try to remind myself I did a lot to have you here. So, okay. But no, he's awesome. But it is a lot. And yeah, we've been very vocal about it because there are a lot of people that deal with it, and we want them to know that they're not alone.
And it's so important, too, to normalize these struggles that so many people go through. How has being a mother changed you in a professional and a personal way?
Professional, I don't know if it's changed me professionally. I definitely, cherish the time that I have where I have to get a certain amount of things done that day for my job because I know the other time I'm going to be with him. Personally, yeah, it changes everything. You want to take that first flight home to get back to your son. You want to make it back in time for bath so you can because I've missed all day. I want to FaceTime him from the field, even though he has no clue what I'm doing. I remember being at a 49ers game early in the season, and I was talking to one of my favorite players, Trent Williams, and I got a FaceTime from my nanny, and I was like, hey, hold on. I picked it up, and I go, Mackie, this is one of the best left tackles in football ever. This is royalty, baby. So it's cool to want to be able to share all this with my son, and it just puts a different twist on my life now.
Absolutely. And you have been doing this at a high level for so long. And I'm so curious, too, because so often people ask, what's the key to getting in the door? What's the key to getting your start? But I'm more curious, what's the key to staying at the top of the game once you've reached that pinnacle?
Concealer, a good amount of concealer, because you don't sleep a lot. No, I would say just the preparation. You're always and always trying to evolve your preparation, make it better. What did I do last year that worked? What didn't work for me? What can I fine tune? So I would say that there's still every single year things I want to work on, things I want to do better. After a report I give, I think about it. I'm like, oh, I could have done this instead. I should have said this. So I think that also means that I still, love it and I want to do it for as long as I can, for as long as they'll have me. But yeah, you always think about, okay, how can I reinvent myself? How can I be better? Not just get stuck in your ways.
That's fair. Is there a moment to date in your career that you look back on that you're most proud of?
Most proud of? I don't know. I mean, the Super Bowl was the biggest thing we just did, I was proud of that. I was proud of our broadcast. I was proud of the pregame show. It just went really, really well. I was so proud of Fox. Our bosses, Brad Zager, put an incredible moment on with our pregame and a tribute to New Orleans and the LA fires with Lady Gaga and Bourbon Street. And that was just such an emotional moment. So I was just really, really proud of our network as a whole with what we put together for Super Bowl.
Is there a piece of advice that you want to give the audience, the listeners, or perhaps even your younger self that you say, oh, I wish I knew this back then?
That is so funny. Carissa and I are in this whole self-help journey right now, and we are going to write letters to our younger self this week. I would say the one thing I'm definitely trying to do more of, because I'm so hyper-focused on getting the job done, doing a good job, being precise, nailing it on camera, enjoying it more, enjoying the ride more. That's something she and I really focused on with this Super Bowl this year. I mean, I basically cried after I interviewed Patrick Mahomes pregame, which I know sounds soft and kind of cheesy, but I don't care. It was so freaking awesome to interview the face of the league, like literally moments before, we kicked off. You just don't know when stuff like that is going to happen again. So I would say like stay in the moment and enjoying it, because I've worked my ass off to be here, and it's cool to kind of sit back and like, look at it all and be like, this is great.
I know, right? The hindsight is 2020, but in the moment, it's hard to realize that you're in the good old days almost, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, looking forward to hearing more about those letters to your younger self on Calm Down, I'd imagine. Erin Andrews, thank you so much for taking the time on Her Playbook, a podcast highlighting inspiring stories of women in sport and business. Her Playbook is brought to you by Kendra Scott, the jewelry company that's shining bright and doing good. Shop jewelry styles designed for every day and every occasion at your local Kendra Scott store or kendrascott.com.